All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Casey Trades. Just going to do a quick recap covering a few trades and essentially how I was able to make $4,000 today trading the stock market with options. So, there was a few trades that I took intraday. There was a few swings that I was in. So, just going to do a quick little breakdown on the ones that end up, leading to the big day that I had today. So, I've got a few charts already pulled up here. And the first one we're going to talk about here is ticker IREN. So IREN, this name has been on an absolute tear. Whenever it was actually down here near 8 to 10 bucks is when I started to get interested in it. And when it started to break above, 12 to 15, um, that's when I started to go long with equity within this name. It's been on a massive, massive weekly run until recently, where there was this first week red candle that it's had since August. The first week of August has been on a huge green streak until right here. One thing that drew me to getting into a trade on IREN, and believe it or not, for that whole run up, the big trade that I actually had was puts up here near the high. So let me see if I can go ahead and pull this up. See if this pulls up right here. Here is X. You guys should be able to see the X screen. Right here's my X profile. And this is some put flow right here that was actually coming in for $80 puts for November expiration. All of these right here on these contracts, this is all unusual flow, all good size as well. You got 3,600,000, some 400,000, another million, another 2.5 million right here on these 80 puts for November. And then you also had the 75 puts as well for November, all bearish flow that was coming in as well. Another 1,600,000, 400,000, 2.8 thousand right here. So very large size. And if you look at the date on this post, right, this was on October 15th. So if I go back over to the chart here on IREN, all right, so now let's go to the daily chart and go look at October 15th. That is this red candle right there. So that is the day right here. This is where I took puts on IREN. The reason again on why I take puts right here, one, I really like the flow that was coming in because this name has been super strong. So why is there a lot of options flow coming in for massive, massive put orders right here? And it just had this huge run up here. So by going short here, right? I can just risk the high. If it goes back up and breaks that high, I'm good. If it at least comes back down to retest where the daily moving averages, the daily 9 right there, that already puts me at a 1 to 1. If you come down to the daily 21, now you're at a 1 to 2. So, for example, if I take $2,000 worth of puts right here, let's say I'm going to risk losing 500 bucks. If it goes and hits this daily 21 down here, then my reward is going to be more than double that. So I'm going to risk 500 bucks to make 1,000. I'll take that trade 9 times out of 10, right? My reward is 2 times greater than what my risk is. So that is essentially what I did. And there's actually a small gap right here that lined up perfectly on the daily right there. There's your gap fill. You drag that over, that's exactly where it ended up hitting. So I was able to take IRN $60 puts and also rolled some profits after it got this huge red candle down right here on IREN. End up rolling some profits of the 60 puts. So I didn't take the 80s or the 75s that came on the put flow. One, because they were crazy expensive. Um, so I decided to go down a strike and end up getting the 60s. The 60s were still, they were $600 per contract. And then I can even pull it up over here in the Discord and it'll show you right here. So you see REN right there. This is on 10:15. Look at that. There's a timestamp for you at 11:08. That is when I took IREN $60 puts for 11:21, a little smaller size trade. Um, because of the fact that it's $600 per contract. So for that one, just grabbing four contracts and then trimming out along the way. After that, you'll see if I scroll up to IREN 50s. Let's see if it pulls up. So end up rolling some of the profits into the IREN 50s. And recently just trimmed out some of those today on this big move down as they almost went in the money. So the 60s went in the money, and then the 50s almost end up going in the money. So, and then here's the trim right here on those 50s at 600 from that entry. And it was the profit roll right here the day after. There it is. So 1016 the day after at 204 going into that close down here, that's where I took some of the 60 puts and then rolled the profits into the 50s right there. So that is essentially how I was able to catch this really, really nice downside move on IREN. After IREN is KO. Not a lot of people like talking about KO. Is I absolutely love trading this name, and when I usually trade this name, it's a really, really good trade. So this one was short, sweet, to the point. I've talked about this on X. I charted it twice, and then I covered it on the Sunday night live stream before this move even happened. But you had bullish divergence down here on the RSI as it was just consolidating sideways. So obviously, you hear the saying consolidation leads to expansion. So you had bullish divergence here on the RSI, and look, the MACD had also flipped bullish back on the first day of October during that consolidation, started moving to the upside. This bad boy here is the TTM squeeze, and you'll see all the red dots right here and the bars climbing to the upside. They flipped from yellow to blue. That is a very bullish sign. So boom, 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 very bullish. Got a nice rounded bottom right here. And then when it broke back above the daily 9 and 21 EMA, which is this candle right here, that is when I took the calls. Took $67 calls on the break. They were right there at the money because it was at like 66 and some change at the time. But it started to push closer. 67, those contracts went in the money. I ended up being up, like 20, 30%. Nothing crazy, but fantastic. Now, when these contracts start to go in the money, when it starts pushing to, 68 and then 69, the delta starts increasing. So now they really start paying a little bit more. So now by this point, after the squeeze on the daily has fired and it gets this move all the way up to here, I've sold majority of this position. Now I'm up about 75 to 80%. And then KO had earnings. I was very bullish on the chart already and was able to swing some runners that were up 75, 80%, kind of risk free. And then lo and behold, what ended up happening, and I'll go ahead and pull it up over here on the Discord because I had trimmed them out this morning as well for KO. And those calls end up going 220% as it came all the way up here to 70, 71. Absolutely insane. Let me go ahead and switch it back over here because I got it pulled up. And there it is. There's my KO $67 call, October 31st expiration, and I sold that this morning. You can see the timestamp. That is right here at 9:31, right when market opened up for 220%. That was an absolutely incredible way to start my day. That was the first trade that I managed going into the day. So this was all because of this nice rounded bottom right here, very bullish signs on the indicators. And again, that daily squeeze consolidation leads to expansion, everything moving to the upside. Beautiful chart here. The next one was Honeywell. Um, Not a lot of people trade Honeywell. It's a very tough one to trade, but it's a great one to swing whenever you're right. And for Honeywell, for me, it was around 200 to 201, the psych level, which you'll see right over here, right? 200 to 201. You look on previous price action from October of 2024, it had a really nice bounce off of this, came back down, same spot again, nice rip up. Came back down to this area in February of 2025, same thing. Then we had the whole mini crash for the stock market back in April. It went straight through it, and then it actually broke above it and put a gap here on the daily chart. You'll see after the April mini crash, it came back up. It started to reject the 200 and 201 area, and then it gapped up over top of it. So now you have this gap here on the daily. So right here, all these other same spots where it bounced at, now that it's above it, and there's a gap right here, look what happens if you drag that over. It filled the gap, came back down to 200, 201, and then you get a nice big reaction. So, green hammer candle ended up taking the calls, ripped it straight up here. It came straight back. Contracts came back to entry. And then, boom, gets a really nice move up to a volume point of control here on the daily. And I'm currently still in this position, but I did trim out some today for about 40 to 50%. 210 was my target. That is also over here in the Discord. I can show that as well. And it was a beautiful trend line rejection for these lower highs. So that was a great target for calls, taking them down here and then target straight up here. Um, I can pull that over here in the Discord as well. And go ahead and pull up Honeywell because I initially took this trade on I've been actually in Honeywell for a minute for swings. Let's go see. Honeywell, I took on 1013. I took the 220s, and these were for January 2026. I took them at 400, and today I was able to trim them again 40, 50%. I took a trim today at 11:10 a.m. Eastern in the Discord for 600. I can go ahead and pull that up just so you guys can see that on the Discord side of things, where I live trade every single day. So right here, you'll see I trimmed Honeywell. I can highlight that at 6, right? Out half. I was also in TTD calls, trimmed out half. And then you see over here, Honeywell. Took the Honeywell 220s January at 4. And it says yesterday. That's just because this is a screenshot, but you'll see it right here. I even said it on X. 1014 and was able to take those contracts from $400 to $600. So $200 per contract gain on these Honeywells. Again, just very, very honestly simple technical analysis, just taking calls off areas of support and selling at areas of resistance. Now, next to was Oracle. For downside, this was a fairly simple one in my opinion, just because Oracle had recently had this huge pop right here. And then it started to get an upper wick shortly after. It tried to pop back up and it actually put in a lower high. Red candle came back down, put in a lower low. This is on the weekly chart. It then did another red candle long wick lower high. So that's a second lower high after that big green candle came in. It put in a lower high, made a little bit lower low, put in another lower high here on the weekly. So what did I do? I swung puts on this red shooting star here on the weekly chart. And if you go over here to the daily, which will be right there, it came down to target actually at an equal low, right there. Hit the equal low. There is a gap to fill all the way down to 243, which would be absolutely insane. So I took 262.5 calls on Oracle, and I still do have a few. Was able to trim some of those out today as well. This was another one of the big trades. So it was able to trim out some of those. Let me pull them up over here in the Discord. Trim the Oracle 262.5s at 510 near the open. I'll go ahead and pull it up over here. Look, I said Oracle alerts going off, and that's exactly where I did it. So Oracle trimmed them at 510. These ones, the Oracle 262.5s, I took yesterday. Well, this was yesterday. I typed this in, so Monday at 11:37 at 365, and I trimmed some out this morning at $510. So I just about 100 and what was that, $45 per contract gain, and contracts are still green after taking some trims and still looking for potentially a little bit more here. Now, the biggest one, I've been talking about it for freaking weeks, is ticker CRM. This was the biggest trade. Now, KO was 200%, but when it comes to money, CRM was the best one. So CRM, I traded the exact same contracts 4 times in a row, and fourth time was the charm. So I took these 270 calls for November. Every single time, if you look here on the weekly chart, every single time CRM has come down underneath 240 and came down to the mid 230s, it gets a buy and goes back up near the 250 to 260 area. It happened multiple times back in June, July, and August, September of 2024. Happened again during the April dip, and then it happened again in August. During that time, it was in a squeeze to the downside. It fired and then consolidation sideways, holding this area. Now it's in a squeeze going to the upside. I was actually already in before the weekly squeeze, but if you look at the daily, daily has been in a squeeze since the end of September. Again, during that consolidation, look at the MACD. MACD has been bullish since October 6th. Squeeze has been climbing to the upside, still hasn't fired yet on the daily, but is now bullish. And I'm still in CRM. We're finally getting the breakout right here. So October 6th would be this day right here, this green candle. And you can see just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But that's when everything started to flip bullish. So taking calls from down here, back up here, back down, back up here, back down, took them again and finally getting the big breakout. So those Oracle 270s, I mean, this is absolutely freaking, or not Oracle, the CRM 270s. Again, fourth time is the freaking charm, I suppose. Let me see if I can pull it up here in the Discord. Here, this is I even said that in the alert when I took it because we've been talking about it for the longest time trying to catch this move. So right here, fourth time's the charm, CRM. 270s at 11:21 expiration at $400 starter swing. And I said that's when it started to push back above 250 and it was looking very, very strong. And I was like, okay, if it rejects and comes back down underneath 250, then I'll add down to 248, 245. I'm going to risk the 240 cycle level, but I'm going to target 260, 265. So at least when I get the average in on that, it's going to be a 2 to 3 or a 1 to 2 to 3 risk to reward ratio. So, risk losing $100 to make, $200 or $300. So looking for my reward to be 2 to 3 times greater than what I'm willing to risk. And now if took those at 400, and again, we'll scroll down to CRM here. Look, this is TTD again, just showing the calls that I was in earlier. Here's the Honeywell chart going to 210. Here's CRM. Again, broke above 260, ripping at 265. That was target. Also in UPS, I've been talking about UPS leaps for a minute, was able to trim some of those today. Little bit of gains, nothing too crazy, like 85, I think almost close to $100 per contract gain. Not as near as CRM because obviously you'll see the alert right here where the CRM 270 calls the day after the alert from $400 right here to 960, almost at $1,000 for $560 per contract gain for 140%. Absolutely incredible. You'll see I trimmed Honeywell right here. I trimmed those TTDs out half. I trimmed those IRENs. And look, now you guys get to see this. I was in some QComs for I still have two contracts left. I took some profits a few days ago on QCom calls for June 2026 because they were up a couple $100 per contract. And then I actually took some of those profits and still have, I think, two contracts left of the June 2026 200s. And I bought some shorter dated ones, some 180s for 1121 at 380. And then I've taken SMCI as well recently on a really good move upside, and then it pulled back down to the same entry point. So I actually entered into a new SMCI position for a swing as well. So you guys here on that are watching this video, you get to see a little inside scoop of some of those trades that I'm in now. So, but that's just a quick breakdown. Again, just IREN, KO, Oracle. Um, and then CRM being the absolute biggest one. So those are all the things that I saw on the chart. Again, just watching the flow, watching where all the big money is rotating to, looking at the higher time frames, these daily and weekly charts right here, whenever they're basing and consolidating, and then that squeeze is coming in right here, getting that fire to the upside, taking lower risk, higher reward trade setups. So essentially that's it, guys. I appreciate everyone taking time to watch this video. Hopefully you learned something, and then I'll see you guys on the next one.